Hi, I'm Michael Tolk with SAS Online, and today we're here with SAS alumni Ryan Chan, who directed and co-wrote the film Acceptance. So, hi Ryan.
Hi.
I just watched your film this morning. It was really good. Good job on that. I've got a couple questions about it.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so first of all, how did you get into filmmaking and script writing?
You know, I owe pretty much like most of it to Mr. Clemens, actually, who's the filmmaking teacher at SAS. When I came here as a freshman, I was actually deciding between SAS and UWC. But when I first stepped here and I saw like the broadcast room, I was just so interested in it. And you know, he's been mentoring me ever since. So that's how. Cool.
So what about filmmaking really appealed to you?
You know, I'm not really sure like what about it appeals to me in particular, but it's just the way I think. Like you know, some people, like an architect would experience a space structurally. For me, I think in terms of drama. When I talk to friends and stuff, we're always telling stories to each other. So that's just what fascinates me the most.
All right. So now to your film, Acceptance. Where did you get the idea for this film?
So actually, the idea comes from my co-writer Vishnu Hari. We were both very, very like college-obsessed kids. We would, you know, talk about SAT scores, GPAs. We would like get officer positions so we could like pad our CV. And we knew someone who actually lied about getting into Harvard. He only applied to Ivy League schools and he got rejected from everywhere, but Harvard was delayed. And he ended up lying to everyone about getting into Harvard. And you know, we thought it was a great idea. Vishnu kind of penned the first draft of the script. I absolutely love it. And you know, I came on board and together we pretty much co-wrote it for 4 hours a day throughout our first about year and a half in college. Like we didn't have a social life. Like, so we don't have a very typical college experience, but yeah.
Wow, 4 hours a day. So were you guys at the same place for college, or
it was all through Skype? All through Skype.
4 hours a day.
4 hours a day.
That's really intense. So was there any reason why you chose this particular story for such a big project?
Yeah, because you know, after graduating from SAS, you know, I can't make movies about an experience I'm going through. I mean, movies are stories that already happen. You know, it's about the past. And I did a lot of reflection about, you know, my time at SAS, and I thought the world here was fascinating. You have such a diverse group of students, and the thing is, when I say diversity, I don't just mean like different ethnicities, but people who come from truly different cultures with different values. You know, in some cultures, flaunting a lot of money is considered very disgusting. In others, it's like socially acceptable. When you take a bunch of people, put them in one place, you get that nice, you know, interplay of conflict. And the other thing is, I just felt I needed to create a connection, you know, to home and to Singapore, because it's been really underrepresented in film.
Okay. So what was the hardest part of making this film?
Producing it. Producing it was the hardest part. Me and my co-producer John Ung, and also like we had 4 executive producers, which consisted of me, Vinesh Nagrani, Vishnu Hari, and also John. The hard thing about producing is you got to rally a lot of people who are willing to work for free, because you know, we're not a professional production house. We had a very, very tiny budget, and we had to kind of rely on people who were just very passionate about the project. Now that seems really simple when you're shooting for like 2 or 3 days. Our shoot time was about 17 days. And so you gotta kind of power people through a really, really grueling process. Like when you see the final product, everything seems really silent and pretty and everything kind of came together. If you see the kind of mechanics and cogs behind it, it's like a battlefield. It's really, really tough. But when you get out of it, it's fun.
Okay, so how did you find these people, your cast and your crew, who were willing to work on this?
Yeah, so because I'm just fascinated with characters, if I meet someone who has kind of a natural sort of charm or natural personality, I like to kind of get their contact info, because you know, sometimes you never know. You write a character and this person might be the perfect person to play it. You could say I just sort of like, you know, relied on the talented people I met along the way. Vishnu Hari, who's like my principal collaborator, I met him at a Model UN conference. And you know something even more crazy? So I did the IASIS MUN, which is, I guess, sort of like the varsity equivalent in like an American school. And then, so one year I did that. I didn't really have another reason to go to an additional MUN conference, but I said, hey, what the heck, it's fun, I love it, let's just do it. And I got thrown into a committee room by roll of dice. So when we had to pick like which committee to go to, the teacher just rolled a dice on the floor, and I ended up in Vishnu's committee. If that didn't happen, you know, we wouldn't have made this movie, because without him, this movie wouldn't even be an idea.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
What other kind of resources did you need aside from your people in order to make this film, and how did you get those?
There's one other person I really want to just give like
sure.
honorable mention to. His name's Christopher Ripley. He was our cinematographer. He's so talented. He's 4 years my senior, and I kind of found out about him before I got into Yale, because I was a fan of all the work he did. And so he's the guy who really brought our sort of production value and the look of the film up to the level it is now. The other things we need to get in place, of course, is like sponsorship from Mink Nightclub and Zook Nightclub, and also UWC, which we were all very thankful for. That just kind of took, you know, you got to present the project, you got to build, you know, some level of trust, and you got to promise that you're going to deliver a product that they're going to be proud of. And I really hope that they're proud of the product we delivered them.
Okay. So now that your film is done, people have watched it, what's the kind of impact you would like it to have on the viewers?
Yeah, so I think getting into college, it's the first time in a young person's life where they are actually judged. I mean, in a very black and white way. You're either accepted or you're rejected. And the thing that I discovered, having been one of those kids who was crazy ambitious, you know, I was getting 4 hours of sleep a night, I realized that the most important thing is to actually narrow your passion into what you actually believe in, because I did a lot of things that, it's not that I didn't care about it, I was doing it because I thought other people or colleges would sort of regard me in a certain way. And in retrospect, you do kind of see what's important. And you know, for me, film is really important. That's why now this is pretty much all I do. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what are you doing with the film now? Are you entering it in festivals?
Yeah, so we're currently playing at the New York Indian Film Festival, which we're super happy to be part of. And we got into a couple more, but the thing is, like, we're still sort of trying to decide, so we're not so sure yet. But one of the things I really hope, I want to somehow get people to watch this film. I'm not so sure whether online distribution is the way to go, or whether maybe we can have a limited run or limited release in theaters in Singapore. It's an odd time length of 50 minutes, so sometimes a lot of distributors may not want to play it, but I think the market is changing, and so perhaps it could be possible.
Okay, cool. And how would you say that making films has impacted your life?
So, that's a big question. I think it makes you more empathetic, because when you write a screenplay, when you write a character, whether he's a villain, a supporting actor, or the protagonist, every character has to believe that they are right. So it forces you to step into other people's shoes. And if I relate that to kind of what my education here at SAS did, because of all the cultures, because of things like Model UN, where you have to take perspectives from different countries, it sort of allowed me to get into that mode of writing where you can actually root for every character you're writing. Obviously, the audience is going to have a preference, but as a writer, every character needs to believe that he or she is right.
Cool. So on kind of a similar thread, what are some lessons that you've learned from making films, and maybe just from making this film?
Yeah, one of the biggest lessons is collaborate with people who you believe are a lot better than you are. Every person I work with, it's because I have so much respect for their abilities, because they can do things that I can't do. I'm very aware of my strengths and weaknesses, and I really try to find people who are really talented in those areas. The reason why is because you trust them completely, you know, and it frees your mind of a lot of things. That's one of the big lessons. Another lesson is there are many times where we wanted to give up. 3 weeks before we started shooting, we kind of read the script. We weren't so happy with it, and we were wondering, you know, we had a lot of, you know, problems here, there, as with all films, and we're kind of trying to decide, is this something we really want to do or not? But, you know, my team is the one who actually supported me and said, hey, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just keep going with this. And I mean, it sounds cliche, but don't give up. If it's hard, it's probably worth it. That's why it's hard, you know? So I would say that's the biggest lesson I learned.
That's great. Did you have to work with any people on your team who were difficult to work with, or actors, or crew members?
You know, with every film, there are people difficult to work with. But the thing is, I would say even I'm difficult to work with. So I can't even really say that, like, maybe I'm the most difficult person on set. So I guess it depends who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for young scriptwriters or young filmmakers in high school?
Oh, okay, because I consider myself a young scriptwriter
Well,
filmmaker, so I feel weird
younger.
giving advice. Younger, okay. Sounds really simple, but I struggle to do this right from the heart. And what does that mean? That means don't be afraid to be vulnerable. So I really respect Vishnu for what he did, because he wrote about a topic that was very, very close to his heart. And when I came on board, I brought my own heart to it, but he was the one who had the inception of the idea and everything. And the reason why you want to write from your heart is because I think people have an excellent sort of meter for truth. And when you write it from your heart, it's very hard to lie.
Okay, thanks. So what's next for you?
That's a good question. Right now, we got certain like projects, like feature film scripts that we hope to write. Me and Vishnu, we're collaborators, so we really want to popularize or kind of bring more international films to Hollywood. We're not in Hollywood. We're trying to go in that direction, and I know there's going to be a lot of resistance because we really want to feature Asians and different ethnicities in roles that aren't typecast. I mean, one thing that I think a lot of people comment about Acceptance is that all these different characters, a lot of them are Asian. It's a multi-ethnic pool, but none of them are playing the typical sort of like American Asian trope, which often in films they're portrayed as jokes or clowns or laughable objects or weak people, and we just want to change that.
Okay, so I'm an actor. I've been doing a lot of acting in high school. So can you tell me how you work with actors and how you get the best work out of actors when you're doing a film?
It's interesting because I feel like film directors most film directors come from a very like technical background, so like working with actors is usually really scary. I don't really have like a formula for it because I think I'm still trying to figure it out on my own, but at least what I do is I really trust my actor to do what is genuine to them, because at the end of the day I feel like my job is just to sort of preserve truth or search for truth in a performance. So I want to sort of remove obstructions from the performance. I read in a book once that I think really stuck with me, is that directing is a subtractive process, not an additive process. An additive process is like me telling you, and I want you to do this and this and this and this, and all of a sudden the actor is thinking, okay, am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? I want to try to give you as little as possible, but just enough for you to make your own choices. I mean, that's the kind of philosophy that I want to direct by.
It's very cool. Have you ever tried acting yourself?
I did once in SAS. I did like scenes and monologues. I played Oedipus Rex. I don't think I was very good. It's on a DVD somewhere. Ooh. There's actually a YouTube video of me acting in like a short film at Tisch. I'm not a good actor. I'm too self-conscious.
Did you learn anything from doing that?
Yes, I learned how hard it is to be an actor. Yeah.
So do you have any advice for the next younger generation of SAS high schoolers who are coming through?
I would say I say this with hesitance, not try to do as much as possible, but definitely be curious and try new things. Because as I mentioned before, the reason why I got the opportunity to do Acceptance was because I just said, you know what, I feel like doing an MUN conference, I'm just going to go, you meet people there. And the biggest thing is, don't worry about failure, because at the end of the day, Acceptance is a film about dealing with failure, and I think these are sort of demons that many of us battle. And I think what high school students and even college students and even working professionals all need to do, they need to be comfortable taking risks. I think the biggest thing in face of taking a risk is failing and having people say, "Ha, I told you so." And so I would just say, look, to anyone at SAS right now, try things you haven't done before, because the sooner you experiment and kind of find out what you really like, the longer you have to get better at it. So that's what I would say.
Thanks so much, Ryan, for being with us in the Morning Show studio today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So if you're interested in finding out more about Acceptance, go like Acceptance 2013 on Facebook. Thanks for watching.